Now that I'm looking back, I can see all the signs I tried to fill in the cracks that were spread in my mind, but I was all out of hope, lost in an endless maze. The emptiness had unfolded just like a void, but you broke the coldness somehow and lit up a flame. Ooh, I was done feeling hopeless, screamed out loud because it felt impossible in my bones, like getting blood out of the soul on my own. But you came around and removed the thorn in my soul. You guided me out of the storm. I found home in your arms of gold, in your arms of gold, in your arms of gold. It's funny how easily a life can be torn apart. Why couldn't I simply see that I was sick at heart and I am in deep debt? The climb we did was unreal. You made me so speechless, I just can't believe it. You broke the coldness somehow and lit up the flame. Ooh, I was my enemy, screamed out loud because it felt impossible in my bones, like getting blood out of the soul on my own. But you came around and removed the thorn in my soul. You guided me out of the storm. I found home in your arms of gold, in your arms of gold, in your arms of gold. I rise from the ashes with pins and patches. We carry on. I rise from the ashes. I heal from your passion. My doubts are gone. Felt impossible in my bones, like getting blood out of the soul on my own. But you came around and removed the thorn in my soul. You guided me out.
Hey, good morning, everybody. So it's another Friday, another episode of the Advantage Live Show. I am your host, Adam Gullett, Director of Growth with Century 21 Advantage Realty in the beautiful state of Kentucky. And I'm joined with...
I'm Jane Polivchek, and I'm a coach and the trainer for Century 21 Advantage.
Hey, guys, we are not going to have much of a hangout today because we're going to get straight into the content today. So I do want to say thank you to everybody that is part in watching the show. I do appreciate that. But we do not want to delay getting this content out to you guys today. So we're going to jump straight into the show with our first special guest, Dr. Lawrence Yun, Chief Economic Advisor with the National Association of Realtors and Senior Vice President of Research. So we're going to start the show immediately up, and we're going to get straight into that conversation with him. Welcome to another episode of the Advantage Live Show. I am Adam Gullett, Director of Growth with Century 21 Advantage Realty in Somerset, Kentucky, and all around Kentucky as well. And thank you for coming to this show. And I'm joined with my co-host,
Jane Polivchek, and I'm a coach in the Richmond office and the trainer for Century 21 Advantage Realty.
Awesome. And we got a special show for you, and we're going to immediately get started with our first special guest, Dr. Lawrence Yun, Chief Economist and Senior Vice President of Research with the National Association of Realtors. And we're going to start with him. And then we've got another special guest, Mary Palin, which is with the Floyd Wickman team. She's going to come on and give some insight as well. So it's going to be a great show. Thank you all for participating and coming here to watch. And we're going to start up with our first special guest right now. All right. So before we bring in Dr. Yun, we're going to introduce him and kind of read and tell you guys about who he is. Most of you all know who he is. But before we bring him on, I want to give him a proper introduction. So Lawrence Yun is Chief Economist and Senior Vice President of Research at the National Association of Realtors. He oversees and is responsible for a wide range of research activities for the association, including NAR's existing home sales statistics, Affordability Index, and home buyers and sellers profile reports. He regularly provides commentary on real estate market trends for its 1.4 million realtors. Dr. Yun creates NAR's forecasts and participates in many economic forecasting panels, among them the Blue Chip Council and the Wall Street Journal Forecasting Survey. He appears regularly on financial news outlets, is a frequent speaker at real estate conferences throughout the United States, and has testified before Congress. He also participates in the Industrial Economists Discussion Group at the Joint Center for Housing Studies of Harvard University. He has appeared as a guest on C-SPAN's Washington Journal. Dr. Yun received his undergraduate degree from Purdue University and earned his PhD from the University of Maryland at College Park. What amazing resume he has. He is full of knowledge, and I would love to welcome Dr. Lawrence Yun into the show right now. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Adam and Jane, and hello, Kentucky. So very good. In regards to the housing sector, one of the very few sectors that thrived during the very difficult year of 2020. Pandemic, the job losses across the economy, certainly a year to remember and share with our grandkids 50 years from now about what happened in 2020. But the housing market not only held on, but actually boomed. Now we are in early months of 2021. So what can we anticipate? Is it a continuing positive momentum, or maybe things begin to top out and begin to retreat? So what is in cards for 2021? Well,
Yes.
Today there is a fresh data came out from the government regarding the job market and the good job addition, but also the little alerting information, which is that mortgage rate will inevitably rise because fiscal stimulus, $1.9 trillion, that is being discussed in the Senate, likely to pass, which means that there will be additional income for many Americans, $1,400 additional per person. Very good news on that regard. But as we know, it's not free lunch. So larger budget deficit, larger national debt, financed by printing of the money. It just means that the borrowing cost by the government is rising, and that generally pushes up the mortgage rate. Let me share with you a few slides to just give you some flavor of how the market will play out. So bear with me as I upload some slide onto the screen. So hold 1 second. So there we are. So this is the overall job market situation in the US. And what is interesting about this chart is that first, that little hump that you see rise and decline back in 05 to 2010, that was due to the housing market crash. So one natural question that people ask is, given the heated housing market, should we prepare for any potential crash? Is it a bubble? And I say absolutely not, because the backdrop is fundamentally different. We don't have those funny mortgages that overstretch people's budget, or without checking income documentation as occurred 10, 15 years ago. We have a sound, underwritten mortgage criteria today. So that's one big difference. And the second part is, back 10 years ago, we had an oversupply of homes sitting on the market for 6 months, 8 months, 12 months on the market, price reduction, foreclosures. Today, as you know, homes come on the market, and about half of the homes contract is signed within 30 days, not enough inventory. So that's a major difference. And if you look at the second half of this chart, it shows that amazing job growth right up to the pre-pandemic. Then the lockdown occurred, and we lost 10 years of progress in a single month. Single month lost 10 years of job creation. Now, as the economy reopened, you see some job growth occurring, but we are still far from getting back up to normal. Let me just say, here's the Kentucky market. Look very similar to the U.S. So you see the 10 years ago little fluctuation, foreclosure crisis, 10 straight years of job creation, lockdown.
I apologize to interrupt, but the slide is stuck on the cover there for us.
Okay, so somehow let me then do this. I think there is a second method of uploading. So thank you for informing me of that. So let me try the second method. Okay, so this is Kentucky. So this is Kentucky, and you see a very similar pattern as to the U.S. So during the lockdown, you see massive job losses, but now trying to climb back up again. Interesting regarding the state-by-state comparison. So you see where Kentucky lies, minus 5.2% in terms of job from pre-pandemic to current. But if you look at, say, Tennessee is down more modestly, or generally the southern states are down much more modestly, while the northern states like Wisconsin, Michigan, New York, they're down much more significantly. And one difference as to why this occurs is related to governor's policy. In the states that was more restrictive in terms of a lockdown and slow to reopen, they have a harsher job losses, like state of New York. While southern states, they're essentially saying it's dangerous out there, but we will not shut the economy down, put on the mask, follow social distancing. So a little variation, but Kentucky, about national average in terms of down 5.2%. One unique aspect of this recession is that this is the first recession in American history where economy is down, which is the first column, GDP is down. But if you look at the right-hand column, average personal income is up from 1 year ago. First recession where ordinary American actually have more income than before. All the stimulus check, the first round, the second round, now the new one, I think that will soon be passed. All this is coming, small business loans, enhanced unemployment benefits. So average American have more income during a recession than before the recession. On average, we know some families on going to the food bank, struggling through their rent payments. So we know of those cases. But the first recession ever where average Americans have more income. What are people doing with this extra income? They're not spending it. They're saving it up. So savings rates are very high, and all the major banks will say their bank deposit is rising and rising, which just means that once we reach the herd immunity, and medical experts believe that it could be in autumn of this year. And let's hope that's the case, because we want a return to normal life. So if that is the case, people can go see, say, the football games in person. We can do indoor dining and travel. All that unleashing of this savings back into the economy. So the second half of the economy looks very bright. The first half is really trying to get that stimulus impact into the economy. Quickly, home sales, as you know, made a sharp U-turn. So home sales not only recover, but even beyond the pre-pandemic levels, quite special in terms of how people are viewing. And this is the interesting take. If you look at where the sales are rising, it's on the upper price range, while the lower price range, sales are barely rising, or in fact, at the very low end, are actually declining. So why? Well, on the upper end, people want larger size home. Working from home for office workers has completely changed the dynamics. But on the lower end, it's not due to the lack of demand. We simply don't have enough inventory. So if we had more inventory, then we can get more sales clicking on the lower end. This is a national data, and I understand Kentucky is more affordable, which is actually a good trend, because you may begin to see some people from Chicago selling their home and moving into more affordable regions in Indiana, Kentucky, people from New York going into Tennessee. So that trend may begin to occur as work from home possibilities greatly increase during this situation where now many office workers are able to work from home. So what is the prospect of getting more inventory in 2021? And answer is, I think we are turning the corner, but it's going to take a few months because single family housing starts, which is the blue line, is beginning to ramp up. The housing permit data is showing consistent increase. So you first get a permit documentation, then you start digging, and then you start completing the home. So those completion of homes should begin to show up late spring, early summer. So the inventory situation will get better, but it may still require 2 or 3 years to get truly balanced market. It's been seller's market, maybe less heated condition later part of this year, but balanced market only like 2 or 3 years from now. And the likely path for home sales in 2021 is the following. All the data is indicating that in the first quarter, sales would be up about 20% from 1 year before. Second quarter, it will be up 50%. And now you have to shake your head and say, no way possible. Then you have to remember, second quarter of last year was a lockdown. So we had an artificial low base period. So we are growing from that low base. Third quarter, no meaningful change. Fourth quarter, actually slightly under compared to the fourth quarter of last year. So if you believe that this makes a reasonable sense, there's some logic behind it, then what you get for the annual is that in 2021, total home sales would be about 15% above last year. So very good backdrop for business opportunity. And let's hope that the mortgage rates, which is one concern, still remain affordable. So let me wrap it up with this final chart. Mortgage rate, the red line is beginning to rise. I already have incorporated or assuming that mortgage rate will reach 3.3% by year end. So if that's the case, it will not be a major concern. The market can handle it. But if it rises above, say, reach close to 4%, then it will be an alarm bell. So why is the mortgage rate rising? It's because the blue line is rising. And why is the blue line rising? As mentioned, all the stimulus measure, it is not a free lunch. Higher national debt, more borrowing, that is pushing up the blue line borrowing costs. And when the blue line goes up, inevitably the red line goes up. So higher mortgage rate will be something of a headwind, but the tailwind is job creation that will be coming because of stimulus. And the second half of the year, the vaccination and getting back to normal life. So thank you for providing me with some opportunity to share some thoughts on this. But again, for real estate professional, a great backdrop in 2021.
Yeah, that's great. That was really good information. It's very interesting to see what's going to happen in the second quarter of 2021. That's enlightening. So, and in the fourth quarter, kind of a below what we are now a little bit. So that's some good knowledge to have. One of the biggest questions we are asked, how's the market? I think we're not asked nearly as that question as much as you are. So I appreciate you coming on and updating us a little bit about that.
Yeah, my pleasure. And I think, one of the benefit of Kentucky is, again, that work from home phenomena. Before the pandemic, only 5% of the workers were working from home. During the pandemic, office workers, due to it, about 1/4 are working from home. And it is very doubtful, even with vaccination, that the CEOs will say, come to office 5 days a week. I think it's going to be some kind of hybrid. So one can easily envision, come to work 3 days a week, but Monday and Fridays, you can work from home. So long weekend. And people say, why don't I have a second home out in Kentucky? So people may begin to say that. So you may get an additional boost in housing demand from this new economy of working from home.
Oh, that's good. And, one of the things we've kind of been observing too is even the design of homes going into this new have begun to change. I mean, that Zoom room, if you will, everybody's needing the Zoom room, homeschooling rooms, so we're starting to see building trends change. Do you feel like building costs are going to kind of come down a little bit throughout this process? Is that going to help us to increase inventory?
So one major challenge that the home builders are facing is that lumber prices and other material cost prices, which have been rising due to the strength of the housing demand, but also because of some of the tariffs. Now, to the degree possible, we as an Americans want to help our fellow Americans. But if we put tariffs on foreign products, specifically lumber tariffs on Canadians, so if we eliminate the tariffs on Canadian lumber, then the lumber prices will be lower, more home building in Kentucky, more job creation in Kentucky, which means more listing on MLSs and more business to be done. So in some cases, trying to bring imported product can actually help job creation in the U.S.
Okay, yeah, that's good. I really hope that's what happens, because we definitely need more homes. So on the investment side, real quick, and just one more question, we can let you go, is on the investment side. If you're an investor looking at properties, you got commercial, industrial, and residential. As an investor that's looking to invest in properties, which would be a more viable option given the state of this new work from home and all this kind of stuff? Do you see the commercial sector getting hit a little bit on that side of it, or not?
The major city, expensive city downtown is going to be very tough. So whether New York City, Chicago, San Francisco, they will be reducing the price on those properties as well as the rents. However, in the suburbs, some of those office satellite spaces, I think the demand will be there. And furthermore, for people who want to invest, maybe they can sniff out some bargains on those commercial properties because prices are coming down. Completely opposite compared to housing. Home prices are rising, but the commercial real estate prices are coming down. So that could be some opportunity. And for people who are buying just another home to find the renters, consider the fact that we are still undersupplied. The rental demand initially fell off during the pandemic because many young adults just moved in with their parents during the time of uncertainty. But now with jobs recovery, I think the demand for rental housing will begin to pop out. So the real estate investment, just trying to buy that additional investment property, I think could work out well as well.
Okay, that's really good, really good. Just so you know, Steve Robinson, he is our principal broker owner of the company, and he said, Dr. Young, thank you so much for being on the show today. It's an honor, sir. Thank you for your insight today.
Thanks for having me, and for everyone, have a wonderful day and rest of the weekend.
Thank you
as well. Thank you. Take care. Yeah, that's really good.
It's all really positive.
Yeah, it is. And, look, if you've been in this industry long enough, the market shifts and ebbs and flows. And I will say, if you watch what, he's reporting, and you can get his reports. I mean, he posts weekly, monthly, yearly on the National Association of Realtors website. You can see the data yourself. And I encourage you guys as agents, make sure you're aware, because it is true. One of the biggest questions we are asked as agent is, how's the market? That is like the icebreaker to almost every conversation that I know of. So how's the market doing? So.
Well, and we get asked quite frequently too, are more people going to start listing their homes? Is this going to change? And yeah, I mean, based on that information, it appears that, that will even out a little bit, not immediately, but, over a shorter period of time than one might have guessed. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, I think it was very insightful. It's knowledge to have, and that was good. I really do appreciate him taking the time. Jessica said, thoroughly enjoyed listening to Dr. Young. Yep, very helpful. Agreed. Chad Tyner, yep, thanks, Dr. Young. Very informative and helpful. Yep, that's good. Guys, it's really cool to have someone like him. He's got knowledge. He's a very educated man.
Yeah, when this all started, he was one of the very first to speak out and say what, it was a very calming voice to say, this is what we predict will happen. And I know you follow him quite frequently and teach quite frequently on his information.
Yeah, and this is the interesting thing about it is when you go back to the previous recession, he was the man kind of definitely giving the data saying, look what's coming. Some people listened, some didn't. And then even last year, if you were watching what he was saying then, he kept saying follow the trend. He said, you're going to look at a big U, it's not a recession, it's a lull in the market. And he said, you're going to have this little dive because of the pandemic. And then it's going to just do a big U shape and it's going to skyrocket back up. Now, what happened with the market is it actually went above what he projected. Yeah. It was, he projected a good market, but it went even farther So yeah, so it's interesting. So the biggest part too that just kind of stood out the most to me was the second quarter of 2021, rebounding at 50% what it is now. And like, that is kind of hard to believe when you think about it. Like, I mean, this is a crazy market already. That's hard to fathom, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, and you look at fourth quarter too, it didn't appear to be so high, but you have to remember fourth quarter last year was huge compared to the one prior to that as well. So even though it's not as dramatic of an increase, it's still quite a bit of business being done.
Yeah, it really was.
One thing I think we need to point out too is NAR, National Association of Realtors. They have tons of resources. I mean, he is one of many, many resources. So it is a very underutilized thing, I think, by our agents. So I do encourage you to go on and see what they have. They have tons and tons of information, marketing materials, things that would really be beneficial. They have discounts on things, and you are a part of that. You're welcome to use all of that. I think sometimes we forget.
Yeah, and I'll note this too, as I reached out as far as like copyright and that kind of stuff. As a member of the National Association of Realtors, there is content that you can actually repurpose for your own content on your own social media platform or in your newsletters. So they are generating all this content for you as members that you have access to that you can utilize in your marketing materials. So it's just a great asset. So
there's
utilize
buyer's guides and sellers guides out there that are, their platform is very easy to adjust to your office, your personal information.
Yep. It's a great resource, and I agree. It's kind of underutilized. Well, guys, let's transition now. I will note on this next interview, this is Mary Palin with the Floyd Wickman. She actually does all of her coaching calls on Friday. So she is not going to be here live with us. But what happened was Jane and I sat down and did a conversation with her earlier this week and recorded that, and we're going to air that. So feel free to comment in the comment section. We're there. We can respond in the comments as well. So we can have a dialogue there as we watch this interview. Most of you guys know who she is. You've been trained by her, and you went through the Floyd Wickman program. So it's just she's really knowledgeable. She's been in this industry for a long time. So, and you're going to gain some good information from this interview.
The name of that program has changed throughout the years. So if you were in a Floyd Wickman program earlier, the classes that they teach have changed to various different names, but they're all the Floyd Wickman plan.
Yep, it is. Well, let's transition to that side. All right. Before we get into the interview with Mary Palin, I want to give her the proper introduction of who she is, and then we'll start that interview. So Mary Palin got her start in Minnesota real estate, but she wasn't a natural. For 8 months, worked long hours, prospected like crazy, and earned nothing. Then everything changed. She became a multi-million-dollar producer, reaching the top 3% of her company, which had over 800 agents. Mary credits this amazing turnabout to Floyd Wickman, whose training programs helped her production grow over 300% each year. Years later, Mary joined the Floyd Wickman team as a trainer and coach, and has earned the Trainer of the Year award, better known as the Wiki, more times than any other trainer. But her biggest accomplishment is the number of lives she's changed by teaching Floyd's techniques. I am very personally glad that she, was willing to come on and let us talk to her about her business and the Floyd Wickman program. And like I said, we pre-recorded this interview. So Jane and I will have different clothes on during this interview. So we're going to switch over to that. But it was a great conversation. You're going to find some good content in this. So take some notes. It's all very relational based. So let's go ahead and get into that. Jane, do you have anything you want to add or?
No, I was just the only thing I would say is that the Wickman plan and Mary especially, they're very willing to help agents. That is their number one goal. And so she does have a few things that she's going to be sending us, right? That you're going to be posting with this video that will be resources for the agents.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. So once we finish this episode, we'll actually put in the description a way to download some of the things she mentions in the interview, some PDFs and stuff, some checklists and those type of things that they're going to give away for free. So we'll have that in the description after the live show. All right, well, let's get to the interview. Thank you all for being here. So we're here with Mary Palin. Did I get that right?
You did indeed.
Good deal. So, Mary, thank you so much for coming into the Advantage Live show. We've been looking forward to having this conversation with you. I know 2020 has been an interesting year. I know you've gotten to have all kinds of fun with new agents and new ways of doing things. So, but before we get into the meat of this conversation, for those that might not know, can you give us some of the details about the Floyd Wickman and his program, and basically how it helped thousands of agents succeed in this real estate industry?
Yeah, Floyd Wickman, one of the most nationally recognized, one of the most influential people in our industry for years and years on a platform. And then maybe you've heard of Sweat Hogs. He created this spaced training program that teaches people how to sell. And of course, while we adjust the material based on the times and what's going on in the marketplace, it appears to be timeless stuff that once you learn it, you use it for your entire career. It just never goes out of style. So yeah, we've had over 250,000 graduates. It works. Wow. And we've come to your town to teach that program and have all kinds of graduates in your company. Pretty neat.
Yeah, that's so true. We've had you many times. Yep. Jane, I think, is a graduate. Yep.
Hey, Jane.
Yeah, yep. We have several agents in the Richmond office that have been through, and I think several in each of the offices.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what I really probably appreciate about the Floyd Wickman program too, is we've gotten so complicated in everything. It's a system that is proven to work. It's I wouldn't call it old school. I mean, it might be old school, but it is the way real estate is done and will forever be done, right?
Yeah, and I think what Floyd brought to the parties, two things. First of all, a real focus on the people, being kind, putting the customer first. Zig Ziglar was his mentor for 38 years. And you know what Zig said, if you help enough other people get what they want, then you'll always get what you want too. Mm-hmm. And so that whole concept. And then I think the other thing is being able to say things your way. If you say ain't and gonna and y'all, it's not like reading a script. You got to be you. And when we don't behave in a genuine manner, I think people can detect that. And it comes off as funny.
Yeah, no, I think that's really good. I think that's absolutely true. There was somebody that I don't know who said that, but uniquely you, right? Uniquely you. Yeah. And I think that's really what people want now, especially in 2021 with what we went through. They're wanting that genuine relational type person, and putting on a fake persona to try to capture more people and be like somebody else is just not authentic anymore. So it does seem like,
well, and then there's the influencers, and that's what that is. They're really a hoot. If you've never watched one being filmed, that's putting on a persona, no question about it. So perhaps it has its place, but it certainly isn't in the sales arena when people are making the biggest financial decision, maybe of the decade of their lives.
Yeah, that's so
Mary,
true.
Talk a little bit about how that program's working now, because I know when I took it, and most of our agents took it, it was a live course over a period of time where we got together with agents from all over the area. So how are you?
With no mask, remember? Oh my gosh. This last year was the first year that I have not flown 100,000 miles on an airplane. So it's, completely shifted. Material's the same. You gotta condense the learning. And of course, it's not as touchable. For me as a teacher, that's, I think, one of the gifts that I've always brought to my classroom is I actually care about my students. I want to get to know them. I want to, I'm a girl, so I can touch your shoulder without risk of being sued. So I can hug people and love on people and have lunch with people and listen. And I think that makes me a better teacher. So that's been very challenging to do in a 90-minute once a week, but we did it. We are doing it. You find other ways to build relationships. So a few more sessions than the live. Nobody has to get on a plane and everyone can wear pajamas. But you do have to show up on the screen. You do have to do the assignments. It's not just to sit and listen. Oh, I learned some cool stuff. It's about applying and then results. We do hold you accountable. So everything else is really an awful lot the same.
Yeah, I like that. Accountability is such the important factor of that program and coaching in general. That's what you're looking for, that accountability. That is the key for sure. So Mary, walk us through kind of your journey too. Let's let the audience kind of know how Mary ended up in the Floyd Wickman program and your connection with Floyd Wickman in general and how that all developed.
Well, I got into real estate. Woo!
Yeah.
And I have a lot of energy. I don't know.
I love it.
But I have a lot of energy. I like people. I'm happy. And that did not create great success for me. I pretty much lost all of my savings account. I pretty much was ready to quit when Floyd Wickman came into my life. And what he brought to me was how to sell. So that's the thing that I was missing. What to say and when to say it and who to say it to and when not to say it and all of that. So he changed my life. He held me accountable. And he changed the way that I move through the world, to tell you the truth. He changed the way I parent, the way that I am married. He changed the way I see the world. And he taught me to see through a lens of success and a lens of, I get to be in control of my life. I get to make choices. I determine my own happiness level. So that's kind of my story. I became very successful. I had a company with 800 agents and
wow,
moved into the top realm of all of those agents. And we had a top 30 club. So I made the top 30 club and then I moved up in the top 30 club. But bottom line, he taught me how to succeed.
Well, you kind of hit on a couple of cool things about kind of what we are kind of all about here too, is we can teach, agents like listings and paperwork and all those type of things. But really a good, successful agent is going to focus on every avenue of their life. Anybody in business, right? It's not so much just getting good at business. It's the whole package. It's the personal life. It's the financial side of it. It's the law side of it. It's the actual application of the job. All of those type of things are what makes an agent successful. And I think Floyd Wickman pretty much, you're right, addresses those aspects of a real estate industry and their business.
Yeah, it's holistic.
Yeah.
Holistic.
Floyd taught me to take one day off every week. Like, really? Wait, you're supposed to increase my production, but you want me to take a day off? I took Thursdays off for 7 years. And it's a joy when because Tuesday you don't really feel like it, and Wednesday, but Thursday's coming, I get my day off. And on Friday, if you don't feel like it, you say, shut up, you just had a day off.
Yeah.
So it's smart because you
true.
gotta put your family first sometimes, not all the time, or you can be on food stamps. But you put your family first for part of the time and your work first for the other part of the time. That's balance. That's what he taught me. Not 50-50, but what works for you.
That's really good. That's really good. And that's one of the things I did. I would randomly, and now hopefully they come back, is movie theaters. So I would randomly in the middle of the week, if I was having a bad day or I had a day before was really bad, I would literally just jump work and go to a movie theater smack dab in the middle of the day by myself, grab popcorn and sit there and just take the moment, right? The work was still going to be there when I got done. But I looked forward to those random days where I got to do something just completely out of normal during the work week even, because then when I got done watching the movie, I was pretty much energized. At that point, picking up the phone call and that kind of stuff, I was right back to work. And I think I like that, taking a day off and just being okay with it, not feeling guilty.
Yeah, and the Wickman program teaches you to schedule that time, right?
Yeah. So that you can anticipate it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right on, Jay.
Yeah.
Well, one of the other things I know I really liked about the program is once you're in it, you stay in it, even if you're done. The resources, the websites, the things that you can use, the materials you take away from that, you can continue to use forever. And I know several agents who've taken the program multiple times just to kind of brush up on it again.
Yeah, we've heard people say, I take it every time it comes near me because I know I'll do more than if I don't. Because let's face it, if you're in real estate, you are self-motivated. You got your license because you're self-motivated, and you can succeed in sales being self-motivated. However, you'll do more if you put yourself in an environment where you are cared for, you care about others, and you're pushed a little bit. You know, we do better if someone's asking us next week, how many conversations did you have? How many listing appointments did you go on?
That's so true. That absolutely. So transition just a little bit. You guys, you and your husband both have a podcast. And I listen to it quite regularly, by the way. And I love it because it's just simple, applicable, information. And so you guys do the coaching call. So you guys are engaged with a lot of agents a lot of times, right? So what are some creative things that agents have told you guys in those calls that you're like, wow, that's a good one? Because I know you share a lot of those type of things in your podcast as well. So what would you say are some of those creative ways that agents are operating inside of this kind of new norm?
You bet. So we take the very best question and the very best tool. And every week we have a whole bunch of them to choose from. And then that's what goes into the podcast. So if you haven't heard it, Mondays with Mike and Mary, it's on SoundCloud, it's on iTunes. And I made a little list because I wanted to make sure that I was trying to think, let's see, what do I want to say? Because we had 103 podcasts. So what am I going to pick?
It's hard.
What are people doing? I think they're using their CRM on a higher level. It used to be CRMs, that's where you put your data, you're going to get your mailing list from, that kind of thing. And let's face it, CRMs have all kinds of bells and whistles, most of which none of us use. So, okay, I have a CRM. But the newest ones and the greatest ones now have group texting. So you can do an actual video and less than 42 seconds and group text that, hey, just thinking about you, want to make sure everyone's safe from COVID. That kind of conversation, and it comes across personally. So using that CRM, and so video texting and group
That's
texting.
good. No, I think that's great. Especially with what we're going through. That's a good pivot item. That texting and video, people are wanting that authenticity again. They want that personal touch. That's good. I love that.
No one wants to answer the phone when it rings either. And no one wants to hear your voicemail. So texting you'll often get an instant reply. It's pretty crazy. Slide dial is another tool. So I just heard a story last week of a guy that got a listing from slide dial. So he probably slide dialed 30 people. They're his past clients, his friends, people that he goes, his kids go to school with. And he just called to say, hey, sorry I missed you, checking in. And he gets people calling him back going, I don't know, I didn't hear my phone ring. Well, now you're engaging with people on their terms rather than on your own terms. So using slide dial as a way of reaching out and then letting them be in control.
That's really good. It's funny. I have slide dial. I think I've only used it once or twice, but I never really thought about why I would use it. But I think that actually put it into a great idea.
Yeah.
It's on their time. It's really the same as like a text. You send a text, you don't have, people do respond immediately now, but you don't have to. And when I text somebody, I'm not expecting that immediate response. And that was what people are very hesitant to make that phone call and leave a voicemail because it's going to ring on the other end and they feel like they're inconveniencing somebody. So slide dial is a great way to do that. And so that's just an app. It's just an app.
Yeah.
If you listen to some ads, I think you get it for free, right?
I was just going to say, I think it's a free app.
I think it is. You got to be sold some items, but
if you use it too often or whatever, too many times. So I'm going to mention video conferencing too, Adam and Jane, because I think, especially in this COVID world, it's not, you don't have to go to someone's house. Now, most agents, I would say, go to someone's house and they're masked and they have booties and they have wipes and they're doing all the protocol. But there's a percentage of people that do not want you in their house. Yeah. And I think we're missing out as an industry because we're resistant to change, like human beings generally are. And I think we could get part of that wedge of additional business if we got good at video conferencing. We can present price over the phone. We should be negotiating on video conference. So many agents, oh, I got an offer here, I'll just send it. Yeah, call, I'll talk to you later. Why aren't we controlling the flow of information so they see that we care about them and we're advising them? So I think we can use video conferencing on a higher level.
Yeah, that's good. And people have gotten way more comfortable. Agents have gotten much more comfortable in front of the lens. I know they still have a little bit of nerves about it.
Oh yeah.
If you can just get over that, you're going to take that real estate industry to your business to the next level. So I think that's really, really good.
Yeah, I think that's a great point for like when you were talking about negotiating the contract and things. Well, presenting to a seller is much more personable, even if you do send it electronically, to do a Zoom meeting with them or a conference with them, where you can go over that paperwork and make sure they understand all the nuances of that particular contract.
There's so much downward pressure on our commissions right now. In the last couple of weeks, I've had 2 students that contacted me outside of the normal parameters and said, help, I don't know what to do. One was a for sale by owner who was willing to sell to that person's buyer for a 1% fee. You do both sides, I'll pay 1%. The other was someone that she knew, a different agent. I know this person. They're going to buy a house from me and they're going to sell the girlfriend's house. So we want you to just charge us 1.5% for this property. And this is an agent that has chosen to ask for a higher commission consistently. And, I think because we've got an influx of new agents who maybe are going to do 2 deals all year.
Yeah.
Hey, I'd rather have 1% than nothing.
Yeah.
How do you defend your commission if you're not face to face? If they can't, it's way more difficult to take your money away from you if they can see you.
Right? That's so true.
And then the last kind of cool thing that I've noticed happening out there, and I've just begun now to catch the edge of it, but I think we're going to see it more and more. As we know, we have a listing shortage. Flash, we have a listing shortage. And what's the number one reason that people don't want to put their house on the market? Because there's a listing shortage, because there's nothing for them to buy, right? So there are some companies around the country now, and I've got a couple of my clients that are beginning to work with them that have figured out how to advance equity so that a homeowner can borrow against their equity and go buy and not run the risk of ending up holding 2 houses. And it's an affordability kind of thing, because as you know, the timing is really tight.
Very.
Properties that'll sell in 2-3 days. It's just that I need to be able to find something. So that equity advance portion, I think, is going to help us dig out of this hole that we're in eventually.
That's interesting. Yeah. I've not actually read up on that whole process, but that's something to definitely research for sure. Cause that's a way to actually go ahead and start looking before you put your home on the market. Very interesting. Okay.
We talked about swing loans for years and years, but they generally are not in your control and at a pretty high rate. So there's some new, I guess it would still be a swing loan. It'd just be more palatable to today's consumer.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's good. That's really good. So, kind of on that same note, in a way, is the technology side of things. There is a lot of new stuff that's constantly been bombarded to agents. Hey, try this new technology, this new tool. What are some of the things that agents should be focused on learning the most right now? Where should their focus be? And then what kind of technology would you say they should probably even just eliminate? Like, so that, may not eliminate, but at least maybe not necessarily as important, maybe in this moment. You have any ideas on that?
Yeah, like a lot of ideas on that. So I think that it's really easy to get away from the fact that you have to build close personal relationships with other human beings. Mm-hmm. If you are in this business and you do not have close personal relationships, you haven't spent your whole life building them, and now you're a new agent, you don't have anyone to fall back on, no one knows you, you just moved to a new area, hello, newsflash again, you need to do that quick. And the model for so many people is, let's just throw a bunch of money at it. We'll just spend all kinds of money and I'll become famous. and I don't know how opinionated I get to be on this show, but
As opinionated as you want to be, Mary.
it would really be okay with me if we all stopped giving our money to Zillow. In my opinion, they found out already. They're probably
the moment you said Zillow.
I believe that Zillow is working to put us out of the business.
Yeah.
And frankly, they'll never do it because we've got close personal relationships with people. So there will always be people that want what we have. We have a great student that in North Carolina, his wife is videoing him helping a client put hurricane shutters on the windows. And he looks over and he says, yeah, Zillow won't be doing this for you.
That's true, though. It is so true.
Right?
It is so true.
So I think we use Zillow as a platform. I think we use it to find for sale by owners. It's a great way to find for sale by owners. But in my opinion, put your money into relationships instead of, it's even been proven it's something like 3 or 5% of all the leads that come to you technologically actually turn into a commission. Well, that's not the case with relationships. So investing your money in the people, for one thing, with this COVID thing, it's changed the way we take care of our people. So you maybe used to be able to do an event or something that people would come to, or host a movie theater and bring your kids and I'm your realtor. We can't do that now. They're not. So those kinds of technologies are different. There's all kinds of creative new ways to stay in touch with clients and things like that. But I really think, I think the number one thing is to build that relationship. And we do that by caring. We do that by providing useful information. When's the last time in your own neighborhood that a realtor knocked on your door or provided information about a new property, whether it's their listing or not? What if you became the go-to source for, this is the price? When there's a property across the street from you, don't you want to know what they're asking? And so you're in real estate, Jane, so you're Googling it, right away what it is. But everybody else on the street wants to know too. Yeah. So being that go-to, right? Yeah.
That's absolutely true. It's become such a trend, and we mentioned influencers. You got to provide value, and then they don't really expand upon what that means. But I think you just kind of encapsulated that. That's it. It's relational. It's caring. It's providing the correct information that is relevant to what they need to be hearing. That is the key, and that's the things that Zillow can't do. They can't do it. I mean, look at his estimate. Start there.
There's something else going on right now too. I mentioned that downward pressure on commissions. I think a lot of that's because we don't have to market properties. You put a listing on the market tomorrow afternoon. I know people want to see photos and stuff because we're in a COVID world, and that's important. But the truth is, we're going to have 8 offers by the weekend anyway.
So true.
So it's not about marketing like it was when the average days on market was 120 days. It's completely different. So, you should probably take less commission because you have 8 buyers this week. So I think it behooves us in the industry to shift the way we're looking at how we earn our commission. We are not earning our commission by marketing right now. We earn our commission by representing you and by negotiating for you.
That's really good. That's very good.
That's another reason we can't just email the offer. Right? Hello?
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
That is really good. And that's what is going to separate us.
I had a great agent say to me last week, to a buyer, she said, you drive past any house, you see a sign, the sign indicates the seller already has a representative. Do you want to use their representative, or are you going to use someone that's looking out for your best interests?
Oh, that's good.
Pretty neat little dialogue.
All right, there's a clip right there, guys. That is that's a good script right there for sure. Yeah. That's really good. Yeah. Mary, that's good stuff.
Yeah, I think we should be good at negotiating for them. I think we should be their equity defender. because they need someone to do that. And especially in an upward market, that can be hard. Do we just take the highest bidder? So if you want to talk about what kind of skills we need, I'll tell you one skill: the ability to discern what the best offer is in a multiple offer situation. People are talking about highest and best. Highest isn't always best.
Right.
That's right. That's absolutely true. If you've been in this industry long enough, you know that as absolutely true. Hey, well, and here's one thing too: is we've heard this at the last episode we had someone on, and he said, we're entering into this era where we take what we would call a contact, and you're trying to work towards getting them to be advocates. So with what you're describing right now, it's that relationship. You're negotiating, you're protecting their equity, you're representing them, you're showing them compassion, you're caring. That is the steps that leads them to be advocates for your business. So I think what we're really doing here is we're building that relationship that's going to play out over the next 5-10 years when we're building that referral business. That's the key. Like, you're right. We don't have to go out and market a house. You don't have to point out where the kitchen is. You don't have to sell the house. It's going to do that. But what you are doing is making sure you protect that client and their interest, and then you're playing for the longevity of that relationship, providing them the trendy word value that's going to give you the advocacy later on down the road. So I think that's where agents really should be at.
Because you also have systems. So to negotiate at that one moment when we choose the offer, that isn't the whole program, because as you know, it's harder and harder to close the transaction. That's what kills me about, lowering your fee before we've even entered the transaction. You don't know how hard that's going to be. Some of us go to war to get these babies closed. And if you don't have systems, you can do everything right, but the other agent doesn't do their part. Or somebody overlooks something, and that causes the whole thing to break down.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
A big part of that is education, isn't it? Somewhat to educate your clients on some of these points.
Yeah, and to make sure that no stone is left unturned, because we are in a changing market. Things are different. To learn from one another, to be in a group of people that care, professional realtors. If you're only doing a couple transactions a year, what are the odds that this one's going to go smoothly for you? Because too much has changed since the last time you did a transaction.
Yeah. No, that's good. You're so true. So true. So, Mary, I think we've kind of nailed on the point of what we're doing is relationships. And I think the way you would even say some of those things is people would classify as old school. But in reality, relationships and humans in general, we operate the same. The technology might be doing what we're doing now. It might be different, right? But we're relational, and old school still has a place. Mail outs and those type of marketing. Sure. What would you say? We're kind of in that arena a little bit again. Would you say old school marketing is coming back in a big way or not?
I think you got to find what you can do consistently. I know lots of people that are using social media, Instagram, they're doing all kinds of things, even Snapchat. They're really communicating with their people on the level they want to be. But is that the only thing? No, because a mail campaign, for example, we recommend oversized full color postcards that they throw away on the way to the trash can. They see it at the mailbox. There's your logo, and now it's gone. But you're reminding them that you're in. You send an email, you don't know if they open it. So Floyd has always taught mail, call, see. I think if there's any part of that, mail can be email or snail mail or Instagram. Being present on LinkedIn and having a professional persona out there. I think you do all of that. You do the things that work for you, but you got to see. You can't have a relationship with someone you've never seen.
And he teaches consistency, right? Doing that one mail out that they see and throw away isn't going to be enough. You have to consistently.
Right on, Jane. Right on. And here's what never changes. So we're talking about old school. Let me tell you something. In 1960, people said, I think I'm going to try and sell it myself. In 1970, people said, well, we want more money than that. In 1980, right? Like the
so true.
expectations haven't changed. Here's what's changed is you're new to the business and you don't know how to handle those. But
yes,
the answers have been invented. So you can either figure it out on your own, or you can learn a proven way of handling it and make it uniquely you. I like that, Adam.
Yeah, that's good. I love it. That's great. So, Mary, to wrap this up, I want you to answer this question, and this is more or less the big takeaways for the audience right now. Okay. What would you say are the top 5 strategies or tips agents should be focused on in 2021?
Okay. Well, first, relationships. So put your people into your CRM and start using the tools that you've been given. Build those deep relationships. I think become skillful at presenting multiple offers. I've heard too many horror stories of, my offer didn't even there was an escalation clause. So become skillful when you are the listing agent at presenting multiple offers. And when you are the selling agent, get the listing agent on your side. Be nice. I think if we are nice to one another and we keep in mind who our client is, probably all succeed better, right? This isn't a technology so much, maybe it is. Protect your attitude. We're surrounded by negativity. Ask someone who's 19 for a playlist, and half the songs on there are going to make you want to jump off a bridge. They're so sad. The world is sad. The world is dysfunctional, but we don't have to be. We get to choose to be happy. Choose to be happy because it's magnetic. When you are happy and positive, people want to be around you, and you can lift other people up. I think our world needs us more than they ever have. We are the influencers. We are the people that come into people's families and help them achieve their dreams. So you be the influencers and keep people positive. Surround yourself with positive. We have a coaching program, 8 people that get together for an hour every week. That's a way to stay positive and around new ideas and stimulating ideas. So what was that one? Control your attitude. Oh, this is such a hard question. Maintain balance, right? Like, don't give it all to work, because nobody ever puts on their gravestone, gee, I probably should have worked more hours. Oh, I wish I'd have worked harder. Like when you're dead and you look back, you regret missing out on experiences and relationships. So make sure you carve out time to be a whole human. Keep learning, be happy, have outside interests, not just the business. By the way, that's the secret to retention, is staying in this business. I guess the last thing maybe is more to the point, and that is don't resist the technology. We need Zoom or FaceTime. Some people, because they cannot do that, they're using the telephone. And I'm sorry, but Alexander Graham Bell died an awful long time ago. That's only audio. There are more neural pathways from your ear to your brain. There are fewer neural pathways from your ear to your brain than from your eye to your brain. And if you get both of those working, your eyes and your ears, you're going to communicate more genuinely, more truthfully, and easier to understand to your clients. So stop resisting the technology that allows us to show and not just tell. Show and tell.
Man, Mary, that was perfect. That was great. And one of the things I will say is this, and everything you just said, there's a lot of times coaches and motivational speakers, if you will, influencers, whatever title you want to give them, will give advice. They will say, these are the things you should be doing. Here's the top 5 tips, whatever. Your tips are also what you are. So I just want to say that you're not just you're not just telling people, here's what you need to do, and then not doing it yourself. I think that is what I've seen in you. I know anyone of our own agents that have sat through your training and your coaching would absolutely say. So I thank you for the, being genuine and being a person of your word. So thank you.
Adam, I think we teach people how to treat us.
Yes.
I think we do a disservice when we say, I'm available 24/7. Oh, you are not. Now you already under-delivered.
That's so true.
I have a ball. Thank you, Paul.
That's great. Mary, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hold on. Thank you for coming on. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye. All right. There you guys go. What a great interview, right?
Yeah, she's great. She's so passionate about what she does. But I think she makes a good point, and a lot of our guest speakers have come on and gave examples of things to do and how to be successful. But I think the one underlying theme is you choose to be successful or not. And if you don't give up and if you put the time in, the business is there and you will be successful. Almost everyone has said, surround yourself with people who are positive, people who are already successful in the business, learn from them. Get as much education as you possibly can. And, I've been through that program. I actually really love that program. And Adam, I've been through a lot of training.
Yes, you have.
It seriously is in my top 3 that I've ever had.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And, she's relatable. That's the thing is like, she didn't give you like all this stuff that was just like, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed. I can't do this. It was just applicable stuff about serving people, being relational, and I just appreciate her so much. I really do. And I know she'll be watching this. So thank you, Mary, for agreeing to come on and be interviewed. Jessica Cunningham says, excellent. Yep. Thank you, Jessica. Emily, a wonderful interview with Mary Palin. Yep. Thank you. Always great content. Today was better. That's good. Thanks, Terry. So it was a great show. And before we pass on or finish up the Mary interview, I add this to the stream here. This is her contact information. If you guys would like to get in contact with Mary, you can reach her on an email, mary@floydwickman.com. That is her business number right there. And then you can get to know more about the Floyd Wickman program at floydwickman.com. And then I do encourage you guys to do this. They have a podcast that they publish every single Monday morning. I think it's about 8 a.m. It hits the streams. And it's Mondays with Mike and Mary. It's available on all of your podcast platforms, Google, Apple, Podbean, Buzzsprout, you name it. It's out there. It's just really good, just quick 12, 15 minutes at a time. So get on there, download that, subscribe to that. You'll get some good content. And it was a good
free ideas on those podcasts, lots of, training tips and things that you won't hear elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Jane, that comes to the end of the show. Do you have anything else?
I don't. I'm just so overwhelmed with information, but it was all very positive and good. And I always feel like after we have these shows, I have a list of things I want to run, go do now. You know what I mean?
That's so true. Yeah. And the beautiful thing is it's recorded. You can go back and rewatch it on the Facebook channels and the YouTube channels and all that. So we leave it up there. So first, before I wrap up, let's talk about the next couple weeks. So next Friday, we're going to switch gears just a little bit as far as like who the guest is and what topic they're going to be talking about. This particular person is not part of the real estate industry, but yet inserted herself into the real estate industry by a YouTube video that she recently did. And her name is Desiree Martinez. And to give you a little bit about who Desiree is, she is a lady that I have been watching to learn about live streaming, the software that we're running this show on and everything. She is somebody that I've been watching on YouTube. She has a huge following. But what she actually posted was a real estate live streaming video. So she was talking about just the ease of getting in and doing live streaming and making video and kind of the whole process about that and how to do it on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So she's going to come on the show and we're going to be talking to her about that process. because I know we're kind of, that's probably not going anywhere. Video is probably going to be here to stay. So she's going to show you guys how to do some of what we're doing, but, you know, obviously it doesn't have to be, you know, all these transitions and things like that. It'll be a very basic way of doing it, but she's got some really good tips. But she's also got a background in content marketing throughout social media. So she's actually a consultant for a lot of big businesses, and how to make posts and when to time those and when to, you know, get the best traction on those posts. So she's going to be a really good conversation with her. So it's kind of outside of our industry, but yet still very relevant for where we find ourselves. And then the following week, we've got the infamous, and everybody knows who he is, Mike Ferry, coming on. So he'll be here and we'll be having a good conversation with him. I know myself and a lot of others have sat through a lot of his training, taken his courses. I mean, he's been around, I think he's been in coaching for 25 plus years, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's got a lot of experience, and most of you guys also know his son, Tom Ferry. So anyway, he's going to be coming on. We're going to have a great conversation with him, and that'll be the following week. So
he's fun and he's brilliant. So
yeah, he
great
is.
combination.
Yep. And he stays relevant. That's the thing, is he's always changing his content and adapting to the time. So it'll be a really good conversation. I think we're going to actually be focused mainly on listings. He has got a course that he's coming out with. I was talking to the other day, and he basically is going to come on and share some of that material with you guys for free. So it'll be really good. All right, Jane. Well, anything else?
No, that's it.
All right, guys. Hey, if this is your first time here, please consider subscribing, hitting the bell, and liking this video. We do appreciate that, and we thank you for all of that, and we'll see you guys next week. In the meantime, be fearless, keep pushing forward, and never stop being relentless in your pursuit of excellence. I'm Adam Gullett, your co-host of the Advantage Live show, and it's been a pleasure coming to you guys again this week. Have a great, great day.
Thank you all. Have a great week.